everyone, I'm Daniel Corey coming at you from DangerKatts Central, and I'd like to welcome you everybody to episode Lucky 13 of Makers, where I speak with artists who shape and make culture. I'd like to introduce you to this week's guest, director, writer, producer, novelist, Amanda Raymond. Hey, Amanda.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
Thanks
excellent.
for having me.
Thank you. Yes, from just down the street in beautiful downtown Burbank. So. A little bit about Amanda. Amanda Raymond is currently in post-production on the TV series she produced called The Potwins with Kevin Sorbo, Barry Bostwick, John Lovitz, Tia Carrera. Her first feature film that she directed, co-wrote, and served as executive producer on, You Are My Home, starring Alyssa Milano and Angel Parker, just premiered on Netflix this past holiday season. Mm-hmm. Amanda also wrote and directed the award-winning short From Emily that was on the reduced Oscar consideration list for the 2020 awards. Her first novel, Son of Sherlock, debuted in 2017. Amanda has much varied experience in working in many parts of the film and television industry, and I'm going to let her tell you all about it right now. So without further ado, hello, Amanda Raymond.
Hello. Thank you.
So just generally, how are things going right now? We're if anybody in the future is watching this, we're still ensconced in this quarantine time. So yeah, how's that all going for you right now?
Well, actually, as a writer, it hasn't been awful. So I've just been incredibly prolific, and I've been brushing up old pilots that I have and old features that I have, and I've written some new material. And we actually were able to produce a TV series of all things over the summer. Yeah. So, we have been able to get some work done. So that's been good.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I want to jump right in here, and I'm going to ask you the first question I ask all the guests of my show. What sort of art do you make, and what do you think is your role in shaping culture?
I am a director, writer, and producer. And, it's like, I like to tell stories that have some kind of theme or point to it. I mean, I think everybody says that about their work and their music, but it's usually something that, especially on the directing side, something that's very important to me that I believe very strongly in. Mm-hmm. I feel like I have stories I want to tell and that I want to share and that I feel other people can relate to and see themselves or people they know in. And I think that's always important, is finding a way to connect with your audience. It's not just watching a bunch of rich people that you like live on yachts. It's like, okay, that's not relatable to me at all. It's great, but who can I connect with? How can I connect with those people? So it's being engaged with the audience and doing projects that, you can find a kernel of relevance in.
Wonderful. I think you are the first guest that's really just not been taken aback by that question, and you just kind of launched right in. So appreciate that. That's good. So I got a few questions about like your background stuff. Like you're from Syracuse, New York, and now I understand that early on in school you had a bit of a musical career. What was your acts of choice? Tell us a little bit about that.
I started off as a dual art and drama major. And so I did a lot of like community theater and children's theater and musical theater. And so I did that because I was really torn between wanting to be an actress, a musical theater actress in, say, like New York City, and wanting to be a classically trained Disney animator. So two completely different things. But so that's kind of how I started off. And when I first came out here, it was primarily to be acting, and then I eventually drifted to behind the scenes. After about the first year or so.
Okay. But you played a particular instrument as well.
I played the clarinet because I always loved jazz and I liked, Benny Goodman. And so, my parents actually sold my clarinet, which I'm still upset about. But
that's so funny. Last time
I bought it for you back in the day. I'm like,
that's so funny. Well, again, and this is something I have to say a lot because I have so many talented friends. So a lot of my friends end up being on the show. Full disclosure, Amanda and I are really good friends. And last time we talked about the clarinet, you said that. So that's obviously kind of a sore spot right now. I can see it's still a little fresh. But did you play a lot of jazz?
Jazz? I was in like a symphonic band and orchestra and stuff like that when I was in school, and then did marching band very briefly.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But beyond that, I didn't really do much, beyond college.
I started off in school band too. I played alto sax. So I did that, in like grade school and junior high and stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't really I didn't stay in band, but I did, like I sang in the college choir. I was a music major in school, and I sang in the university choir and stuff like that. And that's some good memories. It was a lot of fun, you know. And it's like, you know, it's neat. That's a neat part about being in school and having arts in the school, is that you get to be a part of a, you know, get to be in an orchestra and things like that, you know. So, you know, just a little plug for arts education, folks. Let's keep paying our taxes and keep making that happen. It's much needed, because it helped us out a lot. We got to do some pretty neat things as a result. Yeah. That's right. So now you went to Syracuse University, right?
Yeah.
And now I remember growing up watching a lot of college basketball with my dad, and Syracuse was always a big name. So were you on the basketball team?
No. The women's basketball team, yes. No. I was actually not a sports fan at all. So I mean, I was aware that they got to the Final Four at some point when I was there, but I just, you know, I was about theater and, you know, movie making, and it was just like, yeah, I guess we have a bunch of really fancy teams that, you know, people are aware of here. I don't know.
Yeah. I went to University of Central Florida, and then I went to Full Sail University after that. And UCF, like, they had some stuff going on in that realm too, but I didn't pay much attention either. So, but what did you study at Syracuse?
So I started off as a dual art and drama major my freshman year. And then after my first year, all my friends that were seniors were waiting tables in New York City and actually not performing on Broadway. And so I freaked out a little bit over that. And so I got an equally useful degree in psychology and then minored in creative writing. So the thing I liked about psychology is that it's a good foundation to build upon for virtually anything else. And it's actually really good as an actor, you know, writer, director, is to understand, you know, the human psyche and people and, you know, emotions and all that sort of stuff. So, and then of course, writing, but.
So you had a lot of degrees then. Yeah, I ended up with a lot of degrees as well. I never got a master's though. Did you get a master's ever?
No.
Yeah, I'm like, I got two bachelors and an associate's, and I'm like, all those degrees, and I never ended up with a master's. Well, I'm not going back now.
But you can, never too late.
I cannot imagine the discipline of having to study for tests and all that. That's just not going to happen. So, but how did you get into film and animation, and you know, what brought you here to Los Angeles?
Well, I started off just wanting to be an actress. So I did that for a while, but I had a string of, and I'm sure one can say the same story, a string of really bad agents that represented me and didn't really get me and weren't really working for me. And then I started temping just to pay the bills, and I temped at Nickelodeon, and because I'd wanted to be a Disney animator prior to wanting to being an actor, some of the people that worked there were like, you know so much about animation, why are you not working in animation? And I was like, because I want to be an actress. Like, well, we could hire you to work here, but you'll be working 60 hours a week as a PA and stuff, and you can't be driving off to Santa Monica for 3 hours to go to an audition, you know, because it can take that long. You can have to leave hour and a half there for a 10-minute audition, or you can wait around for an hour and then come back, and that's literally your whole day. I mean, thank goodness now they have the ability to, you know, do auditions and record stuff and send it in. It saves everybody a lot of time, but we didn't have that then. And so I started off that, and I started working at Nickelodeon. So I worked at Nickelodeon Animation Studios for on a couple of shows. I worked on a show called Fatherhood for Nick at Night, and then Stripperella, which was a very non-Nickelodeon show, which was for Spike TV.
Right.
The name alone is, yes, good people though, good people. Not a great show. And then I went to Disney, and I worked in Disney Animation Special Projects for a while, Disney Toon Studios, Disney Feature Animation, ended up in PR. Then I went to work in motion capture at Jim Henson Company on To the Science Kid. And then from there, I went to Blumhouse. I worked on a couple of Blumhouse movies as a director's assistant because I wanted to be a director. And then from there, I went back to Disney and studio publicity for all their feature films for a bit. And then I finally was able to break out and did my short, and then I did my feature.
Very cool. All right. Now you did a few shorts before, like From Emily. You did some other short films. Like when did you start that up? And can you tell me about some of the other movies?
Yeah, the first one I did was a proof of concept for Son of Sherlock, actually, to help me with getting an agent, which it actually did. So I just, you know, we did a scene we pulled from the book, shot it in like this amazing like Sherlock Holmes sitting room that's actually located here in LA. The owners were kind enough to let us shoot there.
Where is that?
It's out like near Van Nuys area.
Yeah.
So, but it's amazing. It's spot on. But
Is it open to the public usually?
you have to know somebody. It's actually in this person's house, so you have to know them and be able to go. And so it's by word of mouth kind of thing. But it's
Oh,
really really cool.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, yeah. So like this short film, which I've seen and is wonderful. It's all takes place in Sherlock Holmes' office, and I didn't realize that that was the location. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I had shot that, and then I did another like sci-fi short that I was a producer and an actor in, that a friend brought to me. And then there was another one that I did that I actually had written. I wrote and produced, and I also acted in that one. I didn't direct either one of those, so Emily was the first one I did that I directed.
Okay, very cool. So, so let's go back and talk a little more about Sherlock. So we met over our mutual love of Sherlock Holmes. So yeah, so I was at a convention. So it was back 2014. It's a little while ago now, I think it was. Yeah, so I was signing copies of Moriarty, this book I put out with Image Comics for anybody who doesn't know about that. And then, this blonde girl walks by and she's dressed like Sherlock Holmes. And I was like, Lady Sherlock, and that's how we met and became friends. But tell me about who that character actually was.
Yeah, I was actually dressed as Molly Dove, who was a comic book character. So it's a sad story. Unfortunately, we only had one issue. The issue actually did fairly well. It was called The Legion of Molly Doves. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, somebody came out of the woodwork and said that we had taken their idea, and it was a completely different concept. Ours was like a, steampunk kind of time travel thing, and it had the Time Travel Academy. And then this other guy came out and said, oh, we have a Time Travel Academy book too, but it was about boys in school and they go to Mars and different planets, completely different concept. Mm-hmm. And I just said, if we just change the name, will that be sufficient? And they just like, no. So the publisher said, look, we don't want to have to deal with this. We're just going to have to shut the whole thing down. Mm-hmm. But I've actually, changed it and revitalized it. And I've rewritten the entire concept to be a different show that I eventually want to take out and pitch too. But that was that character. So that was the lead character in the comic, and had hoped it would have gone further, but
Well, it took you some places, and we met, which is terrific. But no, you did really nice work on that concept. So, and I'm sure, I know something will come of it eventually. So
I hope so. It's never dead until it's fully dead. Nothing ever dies.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. So, but yeah, you wrote a book called Son of Sherlock, and you had a companion film that you did with it. So, tell us about the journey of that book. And I know it was a lot of hard work for you to, like it is for all of us, to not only to create it, but to finally get it published. And just walk us through that a little bit, like the journey of Son of Sherlock.
Yeah, it's funny. It started off as just like a short idea that I had. I was flying back from LA to Syracuse, and I've always tried JetBlue, and normally, they have a little TV on the back of your thing that you can just watch movies, and mine was broken. There was nothing they could do about it. And I was like, man, what am I gonna do it for 6 hours? So I was like, well, I'm a writer. I can write something. So I was like, I'm gonna write a short story. What if Sherlock Holmes had a son? So I was just writing that, and I was having fun with it. And then I got back to LA, and I told my then boyfriend at the time, and I said, I was working on this thing. And he said, oh, I'd love to read it. I said, sure, when it's ready. And he asked me a couple weeks later, he's like, am I gonna get to read that? I'm like, it's kind of turning into a book. It's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this is going. So nearly 1,000 pages later, it got a little out of control. Because I didn't realize I was going by page count in Microsoft, Word, and it was, 525 pages. And I asked a friend of mine, and he said, no, how many words is it? I said, well, it's 525 pages. And I was like, no, words. I'm like, it's 189,000. He's like, Amanda, you wrote like a 900-page book. I was like, oh, oops, I didn't know. But then once I cut it down significantly, I cut it in half, which is still incredibly long for a first novel. But I just cold queried a bunch of agents, and my stopping point was Catherine Stockett, who had written The Help, because I was working on The Help publicity at the time at Disney, had gotten 49 rejections before she kindly, the 50th one, wanted to publish the book. So I'm like, as long as I get less than 50, I'm okay. So by the 34th one is the agent that agreed to pick the book up. So, then she shopped it around, and I actually didn't end up getting anywhere with her, but out of the blue, somebody who used to be a former agent at CAA had split away and was starting a publishing company. And he knew of the book when I was at Disney because we had talked about it, and he used to call over, and he said, "Hey, whatever happened with your Son of Sherlock book thing?" And I said, "No, nothing right now." He says, "Well, I have a company now." I was like, "I want to publish it." "Oh, great. That's fantastic." So that's just, you just never know. You just never know. I mean, who would have thought like a CAA agent is going to want to publish your book?
Yeah. So there's something to just, being available, just being
and open-minded. Yeah.
and just knowing people, I know when I speak to students, I go to Full Sail a lot during normal times to lecture and talk to students. And I always tell them, do the work, and then give, help people, and then be willing to accept help, and there's just this thing to being available and being around,
Exactly.
that so much results from. It's like you said. And I had a very similar experience with Moriarty. I spent years writing it and taking it to cons. I met everybody. I had relationships. Every company had an editor at that company that I knew that recognized me from, after a while.
Yeah.
So it's very hard work. So you spent some number of years on that, right? Right, between writing it and.
I would say all in, it was probably between writing and then finally getting it out there was 7 years.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was, I actually got the permission of the Arthur Conan Doyle estate because, when I first wrote it and I was talking about it online, people were like, "Well, you're going to get sued. You need to have the Doyle estate's permission." So I was like, "Well, fine, I'm going to get it." So I queried them, I talked to them and sent them everything, and they approved it. So I have their stamp of approval, unlike certain other people. But the sad thing was, but when I had that, by the time, everything was getting out, the Robert Downey films had come around, and Sherlock was really not in the public eye at the time. But by the time all that happened, you had the Sherlock series, you had that, and there was a little bit of saturation in the market. Whereas if I had been able to get it out sooner, who knows?
Well, that's the thing. The exact thing happened to me, because Moriarty came out in 2011, and that was it was just right after the Downey movie came out, and it was right when the Cumberbatch show was premiering, I think. So, but that's the thing. That's why I got published, though. I mean, because that other stuff was in the sphere, it was happening. So that was good. So those things actually helped me. But then again, it hurt me because, like you said, the saturation, people were a little gun shy and optioning it and whatnot. But it's just a waiting game at this point for both of us with our Sherlock properties. They'll come around. Somebody will option it at some point. We'll get a movie TV deal on them sometime. We just gotta wait. They were going to shoot that Sherlock 3 with Downey last year. I don't know if they ever shot that because of the pandemic. So that just keeps getting delayed and delayed. What's that?
That's too bad.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry, I'm not a fan of those films.
What's that?
I'm not a fan of those films. I'm such a traditionalist. I mean, even my book, it can fit within the canon. I used all of the stories, the short stories and the long stories that Doyle had written, and wove the story into that, so that it could fit within the canon.
Yeah.
So
very cool. Good for you. Yeah, I know you did a lot of very meticulous work on that. You were a very true Sherlockian for sure. Yeah. I was kind of hoping that the Downey, the third one, would it's like, hey, we're wrapping it up. It's done now, but then it's not. I don't think they filmed it yet. I don't know. Then they're saying they wanted to launch a Sherlock Holmes cinematic universe is what they're saying now. So I don't know.
That's intriguing.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know if that will include us or not. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think you could shoehorn yourself in there? Yes. You say yes. Okay. Well, it's all good to go then. All right. But yeah, Sherlock was like, there was a Sherlock mania, Sherlock craze, and it's not as crazy now, but it's kind of like Sherlock is still present in a way he wasn't before, even after the saturation. What do you think?
Um, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to say because I have always been such a huge fan. I mean, ever since I blame John Musker and Ron Clements for my obsession because I watched The Great Mouse Detective when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and I'm watching it in the theater, and as I'm seeing the bottom credits is based on the books by Eve Titus Basil of Baker Street, and I was like, what is this? So I had to go find the books, and I found the books, like in the library or whatever, and then I realized Basil was named after Basil Rathbone. It was Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce were in the old Sherlock movies. I was like, what is this? So I had to go watch all of the old 14 movies, the black and white movies, fell in love with that. And then they're based on the books by Conan Doyle. I was like, oh, I better read the original material. That'd be a nice thing. So so I mean, I came about it in a very roundabout way, but I've always been obsessed anything I get my hands on Sherlock.
Yeah.
So I'm not the right person to ask that question.
Okay. Well, I just think his footprint is back in culture in the way that it wasn't pre-2010. I think everybody's always known who Sherlock Holmes is and Sherlock Watson and Moriarty, but now they really just know a lot more about it than they did, I think. Even though they weren't taking in traditional takes on the material, I still think people know a little bit more about it now. I remember when I was first working on my Moriarty book, before it was picked up by Image, I was working with my artist, Anthony Diachidue, and Anthony, we've hung out at cons together. We put together a little preview book, like the first 10 pages, and then just some like preliminary artwork and whatnot. And I was giving those out at conventions, and I'd say, it's Moriarty. And people were like saying, oh, from Star Trek? Like from Star Trek: The Next Generation,
Oh, yes, when Data's in the holodeck. Okay.
Yeah. Like so many people thought the character was from that, which I thought was funny, but at least like, again, having other media representation helped me out a little bit there. I was like, yes, from that, so, but I love that take on Moriarty. Who are your favorite, who's some of your favorite cinematic Holmes and Moriartys?
Well, I mean, for me, it's always going to be Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. I mean, they was my first introduction. That's who I really feel looks the part of all the original Sidney Paget sketches and everything from the books. But then I would say, gosh, Jeremy Brett in the A&E series was really good. I'd say he's a very, very strong second for me. Yeah. And then I would say in Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. I forget that actor now, but I thought he did a really nice job with Holmes as well.
Right, yeah, the Billy Wilder directed film, and it was kind of a, they kind of did a, what would you call it, kind of an alternate take on the Sherlock there too. They had him like, falling in love sort of with a woman, kind of being involved, and so they were doing some different things and talking about some ambiguity with the character and whatnot. Yeah, I'm actually trying to find Private Life of Sherlock Holmes to see here.
And then there's Murder by Decree, which is not great. And then Without a Clue is great though. Without a Clue.
Yes.
That's a fun one.
His name's Arimotti! Or something like that. Let's see here. In Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, it was Robert Stevens was Sherlock, and Colin Blakely was Watson, and Christopher Lee was Mycroft. So yeah, that's a very interesting and strange movie. I hadn't seen that one in a while. But Without a Clue, for anybody who hasn't seen it out there, that's a comedy with Michael Caine as Sherlock Holmes, Ben Kingsley as Watson, and they kind of do it. Tell us about the twist in that one that we enjoy.
So it's basically that Watson is the brains behind the outfit, and so he's created this character, and nobody believes that Watson is that smart. So he basically has to hire an actor, a drunken, out of work, belligerent actor played by Michael Caine to play Sherlock Holmes, and he's just an idiot, so it's really funny.
What I like in that one a lot is it's Paul Freeman, right? Is Moriarty, and he for Raiders of the Lost Ark fans like myself, he was Belloc from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I really love seeing Belloc as Professor Moriarty. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't seen that one in a long time too, so I hadn't thought about that in a while. That's a fun one. But yeah, I started off with the Basil Rathbone films too. They used to come on ABC, our local ABC affiliate, like I'd get home from church as a kid and Sunday afternoon, and ABC, my dad would probably be looking for a football game or something, but he's like, hey, Sherlock Holmes, you'll probably like this. You know, my parents were always very encouraging of, you know, anything arts related. And I remember being transfixed, you know, I was like, this guy figures all these things out. It's so cool. And I think I can't, it was very quickly after that I saw that first movie. One day my mom comes home. She's like, hey, I came across a book sale, and here's a Sherlock Holmes. It was a little collection of 4 of the stories. And the first one in that collection was the Red-Headed League, I remember. So that was the first Sherlock Holmes story that I read. And then I ended up getting one of the phone book anthologies that I think a lot of us have, and I still have it. And I used to carry that around when I was like 10, 11 years old. I used to carry it around, and I'd read the stories, and yeah, it was very cool. And then we went on to become Sherlockian creators, which is pretty special. So I know, I think both of us did very interesting twists on the story too. So yeah, you and I, we're in rarefied company together here. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah. So, so let's talk about a very big thing that's happened for you in the last year and a half. You've had a lot of success. Hold on a second here. Sorry, I thought I had accidentally hit pause. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, anyway, you had a lot of success with a short film from Emily. It's a dark noir thriller. It's black and white. So tell us about your success with that film. And
it's been optioned by some producers. So we'll, yeah, I can't say a whole lot about it right now. Okay. But yeah, no, it made the festival circuit. It won some awards. It was up for the Academy Award consideration for 2020. We didn't make the short list, but we made the short list. So we got down to like the top 40. We didn't get down to the top 10, unfortunately.
Oh, but that's
still, that's decent.
Yeah, that's quite an accomplishment, you know?
Yeah, so it's very much like a comparison everyone is using is a Promising Young Woman. So it's in that kind of tone and that kind of feel. So if you like that movie, then you would like this. And if you don't like that movie, well, you might still like this. But you know, it's because it's not just a revenge story. It's a through point that I think a lot of women have been in this type of position and can relate to and understand. You know, being used and abused and discarded, you know, by someone that they thought loved them, and you know, having to go through that. So
yeah. So tell me, what were some of the awards that you won? You won an award that was the first. It was also the first award won by another pretty famous filmmaker.
Yeah. Well, what was it? World Fest Houston. So we won an award there, and I think it was like the first festival that Spielberg actually had won. So as a director, and then also I think they'd mentioned M. Night Shyamalan too. Yeah. So I mean, this festival obviously goes way back, but I feel like, well, I'm in good company, I think. Yeah, there's something to that, you know, being in good company, and that's something I've discovered in doing the show. And because I've had a lot of friends on, I've had people I've just met come on the show, and I've developed and cultivated new relationships through this. And the company you keep has a lot to do with just quality of life and, you know, career, but also just quality of life. I was recently watching and rewatching a lot of the documentaries on the Blade Runner Blu-ray that I have. And I'm obsessed with that movie and I've watched it so many times. But we got that final cut Blu-ray set, and there's just like hours and hours of stuff. And I don't always have time to watch all that extra stuff. But so right now we have time. So I was watching a lot of this stuff, and Ridley Scott was talking about casting Harrison Ford, and he said, it's like in the beginning, you know, he's doing those small things, you know, he's like talking about, he had, you know, was in the conversation and he was in Apocalypse Now, but it was like small parts, but he's with Coppola and he was always in very good company, you know, and I really, that just stuck in my mind, you know, that, you know, he's this guy who was a kind of a bit part player, but he was always around these people, and that's how he was able to kind of become a star. So yeah, something, you know, it has something to do with the company that you keep, you know, and I like to think that we go on this journey together and we elevate each other. And that's what I always want to do. And that's part of why I do this show, you know, and I like to bring this discussion to a larger audience and let people see how artists work and think and how things
how things really go, you know?
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Have you had experiences like that where it was just the company that you were in just really helped you out in some way?
I mean, I've had some really amazing mentors that I'm very grateful to, that have either helped me directly or indirectly, just through their knowledge and through advice. And you know, and for that, it's like I always, if somebody asks, you know, for help, it's like I, as much as I can. I mean, if that's all we did, we'd never get anything done. But it's like, you know, if the next generation is asking for, you know, hey, could you have a look at this, or what do you think of that? It's like, yeah, I'm always happy to help out if there's some way that I can, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because I know that I was able to get some help from people too.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
You know, and that comes back to you because then those folks get into the business and they come back as peers, and you know that's always a
Mhm.
good thing. You know, you were there for them and they can be there for you, and you know it's good for life in general to work that way. So
Yes.
and you know that's another thing. It's like there's a stereotype in here in Hollywood of people being horrible, and there's a lot of horrible people, but being horrible doesn't really pay off. I don't know. What do you think?
I would like to say no, but karma takes a really long time.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing ever goes in our timetable. We want the time
Just,
that we
I
want.
just always say, just be careful and just trust your gut with anyone or any situation. If something feels off, it 99.9% of the time is.
Yes, yes. Good
Oh,
advice. Good
yeah.
advice for sure. So let's talk about your directorial debut, feature film, You Are My Home. So it
Mhm.
debuted on Netflix this past Christmas.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about the story of that movie, who's in it, the experience of directing it, and it's a Christmas movie.
Mhm.
So which is
Yeah,
awesome because there's always going to be a need for it every year.
yeah, it's a family film, and the basic premise is it's an 11-year-old girl is separated from her mother by you know, the government ICE,
Mm-hmm.
because her mother was from Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and when her mother is deported, she ends up being put in a foster care situation with a woman who is very, very damaged herself, and she lost her husband and son in a car accident a few years prior, and the two of them couldn't be, you know, more different, and so it's just kind of like a struggle between the two of them in two different worlds, two different cultures, to kind of coexist and not kill each other while they're waiting to find out what's happening with her mom and all of that. But then in the process of these, you know, they both end up really bonding and becoming close. And then it's, shoot, you know, what am I going to do when this little girl has to leave, because she's really brought light back into my life. And so that's kind of the story. And it has Alyssa Milano is in it, Angel Parker, Christian De La Fuente, and Ava Binder plays the little girl. She does a really phenomenal job. All of my cast was amazing. I was very happy with their performances. Um, and it was great crew, great cast. We shot it in Texas. The entire film was shot in McAllen, Texas, right on the border. We actually shot on the Rio Grande,
Oh wow.
which was cool. And yeah, I mean, my team was great. You know, I would work with all that crew again.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Did you have any cool stories from set you'd like to share? What was there a particularly cool experience where you're like, I'm going to remember this. This was great.
Gosh, I mean, every day has its own challenges and moments for sure. I think I think probably one of the funniest moments was we had this dog. There's a dog in the movie, and the
Yeah.
dog that we wanted to use, we couldn't use for various reasons, and so we ended up going with one of the investors' dogs, who's not a trained dog at all.
Oh
So like,
goodness.
I don't know how this is going to go. So this dog was a lump. I don't know if it was like stoned every day or what its deal was, but this dog didn't do anything. Like, it didn't bark, it didn't run. It
Dog was
literally was a
stoned.
lump. So in some scenes, that's great. But in scenes where you need to actually do something, I
Yes.
was like, this is not happening.
Oh
So
my
there's
God.
a scene where the dog is supposed to run away. And they were just, we're trying treats, this, you know, jiggle things, you know, whatever it is, you know, it's not working. And so they're like, I don't know how we're going to get this to be done. And then one of our focus pullers, he's like, well, I'm really good with dogs. He's like, I can probably get him to run around that fence. And we're like, oh yeah. Yeah. And then our DP's like, you know, it's like, oh, $5 in it for you if you can make that happen. He's like, okay. So he gets the bag of treats. He gets all revved up. He's like, come on, boy, come on. The dog's there, and he runs around the fence, and the dog runs after him. We're like, oh my gosh, he got that dog to run.
The dog
All
was
right, he got $5.
and then he was stuck with the job of having to be the dog person the rest of the movie, I assume. So,
Yeah, the dog did listen to him a couple times after that, but even then the dog was like, "No, I'm done."
oh goodness. I remember when talking to you about this when you were first getting ready to shoot the film, and you're like, they say don't work with kids or animals. And it's my first film, and I have to do both. And I'm like, well, that's what you got to do. You got to do it. You got to do it. Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine having one of your actors being somebody that can't understand human language. You know, that's just so incomprehensible to me. You know, having an animal on set and expecting it to do things. And I didn't even know it wasn't a trained animal. So that's a unique challenge. But you found a way. You got through it, right?
Made it work. The dog was supposed to be a much bigger part of the story. Obviously, we had to change that, but we cut around it, and it works. It works now. But if you knew how the dog was originally supposed to be in the movie, it's
so, it was mostly POV shots of the dog sneaking up on people. Then, right? Is that no?
It like jumps through like a flaming hoop. You know, all that stuff had to go.
Jump through a flaming hoop. Hilarious! My goodness. And so now you've got a film. Not only did you make a film, but it's in distribution. It's on Netflix right now, and a couple of people around here have Netflix, so that's pretty impressive.
A handful, you know, it might get.
So I mean, it's been quite a journey for you. You know, going from musical theater in school to now you've had films and festivals. You've won an award that Spielberg won. You're on Netflix. And you've been published, with your very unique take on one of the most famous characters ever created. So you've done well.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's next? What's coming up for you?
Next, there's a couple things in the works. I don't know if I can necessarily talk about them just yet, but to be continued.
All right. Well, I know that you are writing and writing and writing away all the time, and I know that you have several projects that you've written, and you probably have. Do you have things that you've optioned at this point right now?
Nothing at the moment, no.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're mainly handling your own projects at the moment. So, but yeah, it's just you got to you're in good company. So, you just got to get back into those rounds and make it happen. So what's your favorite thing you're going to do once the world gets back to health? What are you going to do?
Disneyland. That's cliche as we can get here. It's kind of.
That's funny. Disneyland. What's your favorite ride there?
Space Mountain.
Yeah. Cool. Love Space Mountain. I like the Indiana Jones ride.
That's a great one too.
Yeah, I'm from Florida. I'm from Orlando, for anybody who doesn't know. And so I've been to Disney World and all the parks out there a million times, but we don't have the Indiana Jones ride there. So when we moved here and we went on that ride, it was just like coming home. It was wonderful. I think that first day that we visited the park, it was during the week and it wasn't very crowded. I think we went on like 6 times, something like that. So yeah, no, I love it. But that's probably my favorite. But are you gonna travel? I know you like to go to Europe. That's something you like to do.
Yeah, I have a canceled Barcelona trip that I still need to go on. So I was supposed to go for my birthday last year. It's not gonna happen for this year either, but maybe the next year at some point. I'd love to get to Spain. So that's in there.
Yeah. I say don't worry about waiting for your birthday. The minute you can go. But yeah, Barcelona, I've been there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to traveling too. That's really what I miss mainly. I know a lot of people right now are saying they miss conventions, and I miss that some. But yeah, I really, I really want to, go to London again. We were very lucky to be able to go right before we knew about any of this. It was in December of 2019. We went to London and Paris, and so I was very happy that we got that in before all this happened. Doesn't really make me feel a whole lot better, we did that. That's sustaining me. It's not really. I want to go again, but yeah, no, I really want to travel again. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So, well, Amanda, to close out today, I'm going to give you a little challenge. Okay.
Okay.
Since you're a maker, I would like to challenge you in the next few days. If you have a chance to make a unique, special, creative moment, I'd love for you to share it with me. You know, it could be a photograph, a microburst of audio or video. Just if you happen upon anything neat and new you want to share, send it over and I'll post it for my audience as a special maker's moment. So, and it could be tomorrow, next week, it can be 6 months from now, but just keep that in mind. And, you know, just fold that into your creative life. If there's something that you want to share with an audience right away, just let me know and we'll have you on here as a maker's moment. So filmmaker, novelist, writer, raconteur, Amanda Raymond, thank you so much for coming on Makers. You are a maker to the nth degree, and I'm very, very happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Stay healthy, stay sane, stay happy, and we'll talk again soon.
You as well. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.